So what's next for the Baltimore Ravens? The news has slowed down a little bit after a crazy weekend and a crazy last week, but we did hear from Ronnie Stanley yesterday. We're going to talk about a Derrick Henry extension and also take a look at some remaining free agents who still make sense for the Ravens before the draft next month. Let's get into it.
Ravens flock rundown is the place to be.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.
What's up, Ravens fans? My name is Ryan, and welcome back to another episode of the Flock Rundown. So we heard from Ronnie Stanley yesterday. Today is Ronnie Stanley's birthday, so happy birthday, Ronnie Stanley. Welcome back. Not that he ever left, but he was a free agent. You know, there was a mystery whether he was coming back. We know that he's back for at least the next 2-3 years, so welcome back, Ronnie. Happy birthday. Now, we did learn some things yesterday when Ronnie spoke to the media. He talked about taking a pay cut to stay with Baltimore, and he wasn't going to take a massive pay cut, but he definitely felt like he needed to give the Ravens first dibs. And he also said that he came back mainly for the players and that they have unfinished business. He also talked about Andrew Vorhees and the DeAndre Hopkins signing. I'll play some clips from the press conference and then we'll talk about it.
I think it just goes back to the fact that they drafted me, straight out of college. Took a chance on me. So, I'm always going to give them first dibs when it comes to, things like that, out of respect. Yeah, I was open to whatever was going to happen. I knew the cap situation we were in, and, how many players we need to pay, current and future, younger guys. And so I knew it wasn't going to be like a personal thing. So going into it, I was kind of, open to what was going to happen and, ended up working for the best. I just think I knew I was going to give Baltimore, the best, kind of the best bargain that I would, offer to any other team. But that being said, I still wanted to be happy with, what I'm making and make sure I'm getting the value that, I feel like I deserve from, just the job description and, the things that go into what my job has to do. So I think it was a good balance that helped the team and something I'm still happy with. We've broken so many records last however many years. I don't think we really care about it, to be honest, especially the guys that have been here. I think the only thing we really care about is winning a Super Bowl. So yeah, all that other stuff for sure is nice and all, but yeah, definitely unfinished business. I don't think anyone's really happy. Well, first of all, I think, my decision to come back, I think the players for sure had I think the biggest role to do in that, the locker room and the type of players that we have, including Lamar. I had a huge smile on my face when we signed D-Hop, you know what you're getting with that guy. I think it's a Hall of Fame caliber wide receiver. And, I still think he has a lot of good, reps, years, seasons in him. And he's a physical player. He's a competitive player. And I think he's going to fit into our team really well. And then your second question, replacing Pat's going to be tough. He's behind Tyler, I know he's the next, most knowledgeable guy understanding the entire offense. And I think Pat's like one of the best examples of what a professional, football player should be like. And I know Jacksonville, they got a great player in him, and he's going to be a great leader for them. And we're definitely going to miss him here. He's been, a great player for us. He's played every single position. He's a unicorn. So we're going to miss him.
Definitely not surprised that he took a little bit of a pay cut to stay in Baltimore. I think he could have got 24, 25 plus million if he would have wanted to go to a New England, or maybe even Kansas City was about to pay up. There was a lot of rumors about that. But regardless, the Ravens and Ronnie got it done. Ronnie said it really wasn't even that close to not getting done. He felt like the Ravens were giving him a respectful offer, and they were always close on the negotiation. So he really didn't think that he was going to go anywhere else. It did take until, a day or two before free agency started, but he definitely did not see himself going anywhere else, which shows the Ravens' interest in retaining him. And then also, I thought it was interesting that he said losing Patrick McCary is losing one of the smartest linemen we had. He said outside of Tyler Linderbaum, Patrick McCary was the one who knows the Ravens offense more than anybody else. I thought that was pretty interesting and definitely shows probably why Patrick McCary was able to slot in at any position on the offensive line and have some success. Now, I didn't love a full year of him starting at left guard. I definitely feel like we could upgrade from that, but Patrick McCary was always an incredible sixth man on the line and could play at any position across the line. He did start a game at every single position on our offensive line, and that is just extremely impressive, man. So once again, good luck in Jacksonville, Patrick McCary. They definitely did get a good one, and I think definitely took a blow to our offensive line depth. But Ronnie was asked about Vorhees, and he had a lot of good things to say about Vorhees. Now, I don't know if Vorhees is going to start for sure. I'm not in that camp of like our offensive line is 100% set. It could be set. You know, our offensive line as it stands with Ronnie at left tackle, Vorhees at left guard, Linderbaum at center, Falele at right guard, Roger Rosengarten at right tackle. That could be the Ravens starting offensive line. It would not shock me at all. But to not bring in a lot of competition or any competition really would be a mistake. I think that the Ravens need to still be aggressive, whether that's in free agency. There's not a ton of names left. We'll talk about a lot of the names at the end of this video, but especially in the draft then, you know, if we don't get any other free agents, if we're not signing a lot of offensive line competition or even depth, then we need to draft earlier in the draft a starting caliber guard. I really believe that. Whether that new guard ends up winning the job this year or not doesn't really matter. I just want competition. You know, if Vorhees takes a leap and beats out a rookie and is our best option at left guard, then awesome, man. Congrats, Vorhees. Love it. Let's put the best five out there. But to not challenge Falele and Vorhees would be a mistake, in my opinion. And I think you need to bring in quite a bit of talent to just let the cream of the crop rise. You know what I mean? And throughout minicamp, training camp, preseason, who's the best guy out there? Who's the most consistent starter? How can we formulate one of the best offensive lines in the NFL? That needs to be the goal heading into the draft. So I'm also high on Vorhees. I think he can take a leap and be better, a lot better than he was in his first year. I would expect every young guy to take a leap. I mean, Rosengarten's going to be even better than he was last year. Falele should be even better than he was last year, and that also includes Vorhees. So Ronnie Stanley spoke pretty high of him. And I do have confidence in Vorhees, and I do think Vorhees could be the guard starting next to Ronnie. I just would like to draft one high and really bring in some competition to let the best player play. So that's kind of where I stand on it. But Ronnie had nothing but good things to say about the offensive line, about the players on the team in general, saying that the main reason he even came back was because of the players, and they don't care about records. They accomplished all that last year. They got unfinished business, and that's winning the Super Bowl, and I could not agree more. Moving on to Derrick Henry, one extension that I really thought we would do already by now, and who knows, I guess we could still extend Derrick Henry, but I thought we would get an extension done with Derrick Henry, 1 or 2 years, maybe make that second year not guaranteed, so it's really just like one more year, and you get to keep him around and also lower his $10 million cap hit this year. I just thought that move made sense unless the Ravens are moving on from Derrick Henry after this year. And with no extension being done right now, that's a real possibility. You know, I definitely think that the Ravens could end up going in a different direction. We're probably not going to re-sign Pat Ricard after this season. If we don't extend Derrick Henry, there's a chance that we don't bring Derrick Henry back after this season. And who knows? We obviously don't need to extend him to re-sign him in free agency next year or get an extension done at any point. There's still a ton of time left. I just thought that that would be a move to clear cap and also bring back a guy that you probably would want to keep another year. You know, even if Derrick Henry, I think his role is going to still be pretty similar this year as to what it was last year. I don't know if he'll have 1,900 yards, but Derrick Henry is going to be our main running back for sure. I just like to think that the Ravens would want to keep Derrick Henry for more than just this season, and they still might. I'm not saying that they won't. I'm just surprised that an extension for anyone hasn't been done yet. The Ravens need to extend Lamar Jackson this season. It's an absolute priority. I mean, they're not going to pay a $74 million cap hit. So regardless, extensions are still on the way. I'm just surprised that we haven't locked Derrick Henry up. I thought when that Saquon Barkley deal went out, not that he's going to get those numbers, but I thought that would kind of expedite the process and put a little pressure on the situation to say, hey, we're going to keep Derrick Henry for 1 or 2 more years than just this season. But as it stands right now, he'll be a free agent next year, so we'll see how it ends up playing out. But I don't want to lose Derrick Henry. Even if his role gets reduced, I think Derrick Henry's got 3 more years left in him. Not a 1,900-yard running back. We don't need to use him with that much volume 3 years from now. But you're telling me that Derrick Henry with that size is not going to be useful for a couple more years? He definitely brings value to the Ravens, and I don't think the Ravens should just move on from him. Not saying they are. It's just a little surprising that an extension hasn't got done yet. So moving on to some free agents that are left. I was taking a look at the Ravens roster this morning, and it's pretty loaded. We don't have a ton of holes. We do have some depth holes at corner for sure. I think we need to get another safety. We definitely need to replace Michael Pierce, and this doesn't all need to be in free agency. We're going to look at the free agents available, but obviously a lot of this could be done in the draft. It's a strong D-tackle class in the draft, so we could definitely draft a D-tackle and replace Michael Pierce that way. But we are thin behind Travis Jones, and we're thin at corner behind Nate Wiggins and Marlowe, especially outside corner. I mean, Marlowe's going to be the slot corner, so outside corner right now we're kind of relying on TJ Tampa, Jalen Armour-Davis, which is fine. I do have confidence in TJ Tampa, but there's no way the Ravens are rolling into the season with TJ Tampa slotted in as the number 2 outside corner with no competition. I feel like we definitely need to add to that room, add a safety, add an edge rusher. That's almost for sure going to happen with Kyle Van Noy being the age that he is, with Odafe Owe potentially going to be a free agent next year. I mean, the Ravens need some pass rushers for sure. And then we got to add some O-line depth. But a lot of the moves to be made outside of the offensive line are on defense. And I want to take a look at some of the remaining free agents at those positions of need. So offensive tackle, this would not be for a starter, obviously, but just for some depth. There's still some names out there: Cam Robinson, Tyron Smith, Jedrick Wills, Trent Brown. A lot of veteran names. I don't know if they would want to start. Some of them probably definitely would want to start, but there's some veteran names out there that could provide some nice depth. We obviously could also draft a tackle later in the draft. We have 11 picks. And then at guard or interior offensive line, Brandon Scherf, Tevin Jenkins, David Andrews, Shaq Mason, Will Hernandez, Tristan Colon. There's a lot of names still out there that could also provide depth / competition. Like I said, I don't want to go into this season, with Vorhees as clearly the left guard. Let's make it competitive. Let's make Vorhees and Falele have to beat someone out and let the best man rise to the top. I think that's always the best way to do it. And without, with Ben Cleveland being your top competition right now, and it's not a knock on Ben Cleveland, but I just feel like we could add more to that room to really drive everyone to be better. And then moving over to the edge free agents that are still out there, Matt Judon. Ojulari just got signed to the Eagles on a $4 million deal. That was a steal, man. I would have loved to have that. Zadarius Smith still out there. So you got Matt Judon, Zadarius Smith. These are former Ravens. Out of those two, I think I'd rather have Zadarius Smith right now, even though he's done us pretty dirty in some contract negotiations these last few years. Von Miller, another interesting name out there. I think we could get a guy like that could come in and give us some good minutes, man. I really don't think that Von Miller's completely done. I don't know how much he would cost, but the fact that he's still out there and he was released, I don't think it would break the bank too much, man. That would be a very interesting signing. I'm sure he does want to play for a contender. So that's a name I'm kind of still looking at. And also Zadarius Smith. And another veteran on the defensive line that's still out there who's been rumored to want to come back to Baltimore, who we've tried to trade for recently, is Calais Campbell. I don't think he would cost a ton either. And surprisingly, I don't know how he's still playing this well, probably because of his size, but he still adds a lot of value to the team. He was just balling on the Dolphins last year, and he's over the hill. I get it, man. But I think his size and just his professionalism, it allows him to still play at a high level. And I would not shy away from bringing Calais Campbell back as depth. Obviously, Travis Jones is going to play a lot more than him, but who wouldn't want to see Calais Campbell come in and just add some depth to the room, add some size, add more veteran leadership? He's already been here before. It worked out really well. We all love Calais Campbell. That move makes sense to me. And then taking a look at the corners that are still out there, Sante Samuel Jr. is an interesting young guy. Mike Hilton, Stephon Gilmore, veteran, Kendall Fuller, Ronald Darby, I believe, just signed, so he's not available. Tre'Davious White, we could bring back Tre'Davious White for corner depth. I wouldn't be against that. It would be a veteran minimum deal, most likely. I think regardless, we're going to probably have to draft an outside corner earlier in the draft, too. We can never have enough corners. And like I said, TJ Tampa may take over and be the guy. You know, he could be the other outside corner opposite of Nate Wiggins. He could be that, but it's risky to just rely on that happening when he hasn't played a ton. So I would like to bring in more competition to that corner room as well so that we're not as thin there, because you have an injury to Nate Wiggins or even Marlon Humphrey in the slot. Are you comfortable with our cornerback room? Absolutely not. So we definitely have to add more corners, whether that is some of these free agents. I think we can add some veteran depth there in free agency still for cheap, or just attack earlier in the draft. And you always need corners, man. We're going to need some corners just to cover these receivers in the division. I know you guys just saw that the Bengals signed Jamar Chase and T. Higgins long-term. So you got a combo of Burrow, Chase, and Higgins not going anywhere for 4 or 5 years on the Bengals. I mean, we saw what their offense was last year. It is not easy to deal with. Now, their defense is a different story. They obviously are going to have to knock these drafts out of the park to create a competitive defense. I definitely think that the offense is going to carry the Bengals once again. But regardless, I mean, every time we played the Bengals last year, it was an absolute shootout, man, nail-biter. And that game honestly could go either way. It's not like we were blowing the Bengals out, man. It was just back and forth nonstop. So we got to beef our secondary up, our defense up to be able to deal with that. And then I think our offense is already strong enough to kind of go blow for blow with them. But cornerback is extremely important. You definitely don't want to be thin there. And we are pretty thin there right now, even though I think Nate Wiggins is going to launch himself into the stratosphere. Marlon Humphrey's going to give us great production out of the slot. But we need other guys to step up, and we're going to really have to add to that room. There's just no doubt about it. But that's it for today, guys. I know I covered a variety of things. There's not a ton of news out there today, but definitely want to come on here and talk some Ravens with you guys. So let me know what you guys are thinking about everything that we talked about, or anything else that's on your mind. Let me know. Appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Have a beautiful rest of your day. And I'll let the greatest linebacker in the history of the game take us out.
Ravens flock. Flock Rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. The Flock Rundown. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly. Tune in.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.